Hello there my RPG lovers and welcome to another video. Exploration is one of the key aspects of every open world RPG, but the concept of rewarding exploration is something that can be hard to pull off because more often than not, other features in the game can cause problems with this. It doesn't mean that exploration by itself can be rewarding. Going off a beaten path and exploring places that just look interesting can be rewarding enough for some players. However, it's always better to have actual context behind that. It doesn't have to be something big like a side quest. An interesting looking place with a short background story, for example, becomes much more interesting. Making sure that exploring the world is actually worth your time can be ensured in more than a couple of ways. The simplest way of rewarding the player for exploration is obviously finding loot. Even though it's the simplest way of rewarding the player for exploration, it can still have a couple of layers of depth behind it. Finding common loot in more obvious places and containers is to be expected in most games and it usually works fine. But finding the same quality of items in some hidden areas or on some hard to reach terrains definitely lowers the excitement of exploration of that particular place. Especially if the only reward for that is the loot that you're going to find. When I said before that rewarding exploration can be hard to pull off because of those other features in the game, this is exactly what I meant. The loot that you're going to find will obviously depend on the loot system of a particular game you're playing. It's really hard to get excited for looting containers if the loot table becomes predictable. For example, in Skyrim, the items you're going to loot depend on level lists. Even the most unique items in the game that you can find by just exploring and doing side quests won't feel special because they become useless after a few levels. The rest of the items that can be looted are really predictable because you know for a fact that you can't find anything crazy. But Skyrim makes up for this by including mystery behind these locations with a lot of interesting background stories. But one thing stands though, scaling items to your level can almost always kill the excitement for finding unique loot. I guess the main concern when it comes to this is balancing. What if you can find a really powerful item early on and just make a lot of early encounters irrelevant? This can be countered in many ways, but balancing is a topic for another video. The only way to make the loot feel rewarding to find while exploring is to carefully place unique items in certain places on the map, on unique bosses, hidden locations, or hard to reach terrains. RNG loot containers are fine, as long as that's not the only way to obtain loot. To conclude the loot part, if the only reward for exploring a particular location in the game is a unique item, it better be worth it. As of recently, all bigger RPGs are trying to add some context even behind the simplest side quests. The Witcher 3 is probably a big influence when it comes to this because every single quest in that game is worth doing. Side quests are obviously another way to make the exploration feel rewarding. It's a more linear type of exploration because you usually have a clear goal for what you need to do and where you need to go. It's impossible not to mention quest marks when talking about this. Quest marks always have the potential to hinder the exploration. The open world RPGs nowadays can have ridiculously huge maps, so including quest marks is the easiest way to deal with navigation. I don't even know how to describe the feeling of finding the place where you need to go by yourself, either by asking for directions or just by accident while exploring. I'm also not a huge fan of modern in-game maps because that's the last thing what I feel like. The maps in modern RPGs are more like magical companions, they are just cluttered with information. But quest marks are definitely the biggest problem when it comes to this. One of the biggest reasons why I love Gothic's 3 world is the exploration. Even though a lot of side quests in this game can be described as fetch quests, it's still really enjoyable to solve them because there are no quest marks in the game. And more importantly, it never feels like you need them in order to find your way around the map. It's not like NPCs are giving you detailed information about places where you need to go, the world is just built in a certain way. And it still manages to be huge with diverse terrain. So I don't believe for a second that quest marks are absolutely necessary in order to navigate on the big map. That being said, I still enjoyed playing games with quest marks, I just think they make the exploration feel worse. Even though I love The Witcher 3, the world in that game felt a bit flat. So exploring this world with no quest marks would be a huge pain in the ass. On the other hand, I always thought that Skyrim would do perfectly fine with no quest marks. It's good to know that some RPG developers still believe that quest marks shouldn't be a thing. Outward is a good example of this, there is no quest marks and you need to use certain places on the map to orient yourself. You can't even see yourself on the map, which was a really brave design decision from this developer. That might turn away some people, but ultimately it worked great for this game. It seems like indie developers are not afraid of taking risks when it comes to certain features. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to rewarding exploration is the sense of mystery while exploring and the environmental storytelling. The sense of mystery is a broad term. It can be connected with a certain quest, area, NPC, or even an item. So basically everything that we mentioned so far. It can be something simple like a short background story of an item that you found, or something more complex like a unique location with a lot of lore behind it. In order for something to be an actual mystery, there shouldn't be a lot of direct information available, but just enough to spark your imagination about a certain topic. This kinda becomes irrelevant if you're not so invested in the game that you're playing. But on the other hand, it could be one of those things that can help you get invested in the game. Since the mystery is one of the layers of depth, that alone could make you pay more attention to what you're doing. Environmental storytelling is also kinda related to mystery because it's not so straightforward. Instead of telling a story through scripted dialogues, the game makes you connect the pieces by yourself, but only if you wish to. Having this kind of optional depth in the game doesn't only make the exploration rewarding, it also makes the world feel more believable. If a game manages to have all of this together in one way or another, the exploration is bound to be rewarding. It's almost impossible to talk about a particular feature without mentioning other features in the game, but I hope this was easy to understand. Those would be my thoughts about this topic, and I would like to hear yours as well in the comments down below. I really love making these kinds of videos, especially because of the comments that I get. You guys always leave some constructive and well thought out comments in my videos about RPG features, and I want you to know that I read all of them, even though I can't answer them all for obvious reasons. I'm really proud of the community that we're building here, and I can't thank you enough. Don't forget to subscribe for more content and click on the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads. Special thanks to my Patreons, and if you as well want to become one of them, all the links are in the description. Patreon is definitely the best place to directly support my work, and every contribution is highly appreciated. That would be all, and I'll see you in the next one.